In this tutorial we're going to be learning how to crochet the cat stitch. Start by making a slip knot using your preferred method and then make a starting chain that's a multiple of 5 plus 1. For the purposes of this tutorial I'm going to go for 21. Start row 1 by making a double crochet, that's a US double crochet, in the 4th chain from the hook. Those 3 chains that we skipped over counts as our first double crochet. Next, skip 2 chains and work 2 double crochets into the chain after that. So skip, skip, and then 2 double crochets into this chain. That's 1 double crochet and 2 double crochets. Next, chain 1 and work 2 more double crochets back into the same chain. So 1, 2. So that's a group of 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to call this group a shell. So that's 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. So next we're going to skip 4 chains. So skip, 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 skip. Then we're going to work a shell into the next chain. So that's that 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet group, all into the same chain. So there's my first double crochet, my second double crochet, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets back into the same chain. So now repeat this all the way across until you have 4 chains left. So work that group of 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the chain, skip 4, and then work that same shell into the next chain. So repeat that all the way along until you have 4 chains left and then come back to this tutorial. So I've continued working those groups along my chain and I've got 4 chains left unworked after my last shell. Next, skip 2 chains, skip, skip, then work a double crochet into each of the last 2 chains. So that's 1 double crochet and 2 double crochets. So on every row of this stitch pattern we start with 2 double crochets and end with 2 double crochets before working our shells across the row. So let's move up into row 2. Start row 2 with a chain of 3. This counts as your first double crochet stitch, then turn your work over. We're going to skip the first stitch because our chain counts as our first stitch. So into the second stitch work a double crochet. So we start and end each row with 2 double crochets because our chain 3 counts as that first of 2 double crochets. Next we're going to work a shell into each chain 1 space across. We're not going to be working into the top of any of the stitches of the shell. So I'll show you what that looks like. So we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. So that's 1 double crochet and 2 double crochets. Next, chain 1 and work 2 more double crochets back into the same chain 1 space. Continue working like this across your row, skipping all of the double crochet stitches and only working into the chain 1 space. And meet me back here once you've worked into your last chain 1 space and we'll work those last 2 double crochets together. So I've just worked my last shell into the last chain 1 space and I've got 4 stitches left unworked. Skip 2, skip, skip, and then work a double crochet into the last 2 stitches. Your last double crochet will be in the top of our turning chain from row 1 because we're counting that as a double crochet stitch. So that's the end of row 2, and at this point we need to change colours. So fasten off by chaining 1, cutting your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to weave in. Use your hook to pull the end of the tail through that chain and give it a pull to tighten. We're now ready to join our next colour. So I've pulled up the end of my next colour and I'm going to turn my piece of crochet over so I'm ready to join my next colour. To join the next colour, put your crochet hook into the top of the first stitch underneath both of the loops at the top of the stitch. Lay your yarn across your crochet hook and pull up a loop, ready to crochet our starting chain. I have a tip here to help secure your end. Lay your yarn tail over the top of your crochet hook and we're going to include it in our first chain to trap it into place. You will still need to go back and weave this end in, but it just makes it a little bit more secure. So to start row 2, make a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. You can see how I've trapped that end in my first chain. That chain 3 counts as our first double crochet stitch. Now work a double crochet in the second stitch. So next we're going to make some elongated stitches to form the paws of our cat. The elongated stitch we're going to do is actually a type of cluster stitch. So let's work it through together step by step, and I will show you this more than once if you don't catch it the first time. So yarn over, put your hook into the space 2 rows below. So my hook's not going into this space, it's going into this space down here, and I'm going through my crochet to the back. Next, yarn over and pull up a loop and keep pulling until it's elongated and up to the same height as where it should be up here. You can see how that loop is quite long. Yarn over and pull through 2. So what we've made here is something called a partial stitch. It's a partial double crochet and it forms part of our cluster stitch. We're now going to make another elongated partial double crochet into the same space. Yarn over, put your hook into that space, through to the back of your crochet, yarn over and pull up a loop. Keep pulling until it's the same height as the previous loop. Yarn over and pull through just 2. You should now have 3 loops on your hook and 2 elongated stitches into that space. To finish off this stitch, yarn over and pull through 3. So we've just made a 2 double crochet cluster that's elongated into the space 2 rows below to form our cat paw. I am going to show you that again one more time over here because we're going to be repeating these stitches across. Next, skip 2 and into the next chain 1 space, make that same shell as we've made previously. So those 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. Now we're going to make another elongated cluster stitch into that space 2 rows below. So let's work it through step by step together again. Yarn over, put your hook into the space 2 rows below, through to the back, yarn over, pull up a loop and keep pulling until it's up to the height where it should usually be for a double crochet, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, put your hook into the same space down here, through to the back, yarn over, pull up a loop and keep pulling, yarn over, pull through 2. To finish off the cluster stitch, yarn over and pull through 3 loops. So that's how you do those elongated stitches for the paws. Feel free to rewind and slow down this tutorial if you need to. Now we're going to repeat this along, working a shell into each chain 1 space, and then between each shell work an elongated cluster stitch into the space 2 rows below. So repeat that along until you've made your final elongated cluster stitch over here before our last 2 stitches, and then come back to this tutorial and I'll talk about how we work this stitch moving forwards. So I've continued working those stitches all the way along and I've just done my last cluster stitch and I've got 2 stitches left unworked. We're going to work a double crochet into each of them. This is what your crochet should look like at the end of the row, and we're ready to move on to row 4. To start row 4, make a chain of 3. This counts as your first double crochet stitch. Then turn your work over. Skip the first stitch because we have a chain that counts as our first double crochet, then work a double crochet into the second stitch. Just like in row 2, we're going to skip all of the stitches and just work into the chain 1 spaces, apart from our 2 stitches at the end and 2 stitches at the beginning of the row. So skip, 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 then a shell into the chain 1 space. And we're going to repeat this across, skipping all the stitches and a shell into each chain 1 space across, just as we've done previously. And I'll meet you back at the end of the row. So I've continued working shell stitches into each chain 1 space across, and I've now got 5 stitches left unworked. Skip 3, skip, 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 and then into the last 2 stitches, and our last stitch is this chain from the previous row. Work a double crochet into each of those last 2 stitches to finish off the row. And then row 5 is essentially the same as row 4. Chain 3, that counts as your first stitch, then make a double crochet into the second stitch, then work a shell into each space across until you get to the end, then work a double crochet into each of the last 2 stitches. And then change your colour and repeat rows 3, 4 and 5 over and over again until you have hundreds and hundreds of cats. I'm not entirely convinced that this stitch looks like a cat, but it was a request from one of you guys. If you have any other tutorial requests, drop them down in the comments, and I'll see you next week for another tutorial.